Okay, no questions?
Governor, you raised a critique of outside groups, saying that outside groups and candidates can strain credibility, the ties. Do you share those concerns about the Committee to Save New York?
So what was the first point again? What's the premise?
Well, that the idea that an outside group and a candidate are independent when there are ties between them, that strains credibility. Do you believe that? I mean,
The point is they have to be independent. You know, it's called independent expenditures, so they have to be independent, is my point. And I think there has been the independence line in some cases has been blurred. But even more than the independence line, it is very hard to now design a system with public finance that has at the same time a vehicle that can come in at any given time and spend $10 million and obliterate the candidacy. And we've seen that in the last set of elections. You had people running relatively obscure races, and then an independent expenditure committee comes in, America's for America, and spends $10 million, and nobody knows who it is or where it came from. And that, to me, distorts the system. And when you're trying to say to the politicians, you should have this public financing system, but there's this alternative that could distort everything, it's very difficult.
Do you see, what possibility do you see for passing some kind of citizen financing this year? I mean, that's what Jonathan Soros calls it instead of public financing.
It's a nicer name, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Same basic thing, but a nicer name. You know, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic, Eleanor. I think having gone through the presidential election, where people saw A, how effective small donors could be, and B, just the intrusion of absurd amounts of money in the system. And I think they get it. I think they got it at a very high decibel level in the presidential. So I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, we have a full agenda, and we're just starting, so it's a little early. We haven't even gotten through the budget yet, and we haven't had any discussion really on this topic yet. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
Do you see any disconnect, Governor, between you raising large sums of money while calling for reform?
No. No, look, I would, the least favorite part of my job is the fundraising part. But until the rules are changed, I don't have an alternative. I happen not to be independently wealthy, which would have solved a lot of problems on a lot of levels. But I'm not independently wealthy, so I can't self-finance. I am in a situation where, as we described, somebody could come in who's going to be a rich multimillionaire, says, I want to be governor, and they're going to spend a lot of their own money. That could be formidable. A person, an independent expenditure committee could spend a lot of money. So money is very powerful in an electoral contest. As a matter of fact, if you go back and you want to track who wins an election, it's usually the person who spends the most money wins. So money is so determinative that you want to make sure you're in a position to compete. And if I don't raise the money, I can't put my hand in my pocket to raise the money.
In the set of issues that you raised, do you see any low-hanging fruit among them, like for example, getting the State Board of Elections or some outside enforcer to actually enforce the laws you already have, which doesn't even go on?
You know, then I don't think low-hanging fruit. None of them are especially easy, because if they were easy, they would have been done by now. These have all been around for years and years. We've been trying to get public financing done for years. So by definition, they're hard. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here.
one more, guys.
What do you think of President Clinton's remarks that DOMA should be overturned?
I haven't heard the full context of what the president said, but I think that's been his position for a while.
Governor, just on the fair elections, you're popular. You're able to raise a lot of money. Why are you a good spokesperson for the issue of lowering contribution limits and having more financial campaign disclosure?
Are you asking why they invited me?
Or just to follow up on Zach's question, like you seem to do the current practices that are being criticized, but yet you politically are as popular as most governors would want to be. So why change the system? You're doing pretty well under it right now.
Well, I think for the reasons we discussed. You know, I think everybody who's now in office basically lives within the system. You know, every assemblyman, every senator, every governor lives within the system because that is the system. New York City, you have some people who opt out of public finance, but right now everybody's living in the system. Our point is we want to change the system. You know, we have all the ills that we spoke about from money in campaigns. On the other hand, living with the rules from my point of view, it's very unpleasant. You know, raising money is very hard. It's very unpleasant on a personal level. It takes a lot of time. Most politicians who have to deal with the system would be the first ones to say they want to change it.
If getting something done this session required getting rid of the public financing component, still doing like a broad package, but getting rid of that portion, is that something you would be open to?
I'm not going to start to negotiate now. We haven't even had a conversation, Tom. And I'm not going to say now what I would get rid of because it's before the first conversation. If I answer that question, I would just be starting without that element at the first conversation.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.